Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see there's a bottle on my workbench, and the reason is I said I was going to record the audio separate, but today I'm doing the video as well, and the reason is we have a double celebration today. Two very good things has happened. Secondly, I've got two entire subscribers I'd really like to thank. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your username wrong. Porib B2 and Dark Room Minis for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it, for especially such a small channel that I've only just started on a whim. And the second celebration, the main celebration, is which is why we're opening a bottle of Prosecco today, is, if you don't know, if you're in the UK, there's a very important civil servant called Larry, and he holds the position of Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office, and his job is to get vermin out of number 10, which was especially a problem in the 80s, and he must be doing a good job, because today it was announced that the vermin very soon is going to be removed, evicted from number 10 Downing Street. The stench of Starmerism is going to be no more, and hopefully we're going to have a better Prime Minister. And obviously I'm not getting my hopes up, because he must have known he was on the way out in this social media ban that I've been going on for the last few videos. Maybe it was one last kick in the teeth, and I hope whoever comes in after him gets rid of it, but I don't hold up hope, because there'll be all this, but you know, we've already said we're going to do it now, and all the stupid reasons that came up for it. But apart from that, I think Starmer's been a very, very bad Prime Minister. There's a few people trying to defend him, saying, oh, you know, it's the events, why are we changing Prime Minister all the time? I'm drinking out of a mug because I'm classy. Why are we trying to change Prime Minister all the time? It has been really bad, and the reason I'd say that is because, like, remember I'm old enough to remember last time Labour was in, and last time, like, the Prime Minister, Blair and Brown, were seen as right wing, but at least if you went up to like anybody in the street and you said, what are the good things that Blair's done or Brown's done, they'd be able to come up with stuff. They'd be able to come up with our minimum wage. They'd be able to come up with more money for public services. They'd be able to come up with more people going to university, or he brought back apprenticeships after she must not be named in the 80s. So, and a lot of people at the time, and I at the time, disagreed with Blair. We didn't agree with everything that he'd done, especially Iraq, but before that we thought he'd not done enough to counteract the Tories who were in before. But at least I think pretty much everyone in the country would have been able to come up with some things just off the cuff that he'd done well. And the difference with Starmer is he's objectively, this Labour government, Starmer's Labour government, has been objectively much worse, because if you went up to some random in the street who's not that much into politics and had them try and come up with something good that Starmer had done, they'd struggle to come up with a single good thing that he'd done, and it'd all be this mealy mouth thing of, oh, 14 years of Tories. And yeah, you're right, 14 years of Tories, it was bad, but what's the point if you've got 14 years of Tories and then you've got someone who's doing exactly the same things but in a red tie? Because the thing that makes it so bad is that Cameron came in and he did a load of cuts, and he got away with it by saying, you know, it's been the recession of 2008, we've got to do cuts. I know no one likes it, but it's good for you. And that worked for a while, and we had those 14 years, and people voted for a Labour government for change, and what people don't realise is that all the cuts that are going on now, even though it's much, much less than what Cameron and Osborne did, that's on top of the cuts that they did, because none of it is being reversed. So that's why, like, you go outside into your community and it's, I don't want to do a country down, but it's a dump, innit? So I'm having a little drink to celebrate, because as well, I'm going to pause the video because I forgot to get something. As well, like the guy who's going to replace him, who is pretty much inevitably going to replace him, this is going to be a tangent, and I was going to research this before I start the video, but because I'm celebrating, it's off the cuff again. And if you look at the UK, oh man, I'll link something in the bio, but if you look at the UK, one of the cities, one of the areas that statistically is doing better than the rest of the UK, I mean, in terms of unemployment, in terms of, like, I think I saw a statistic where the GDP in this area of the UK is growing by quite a lot in the last few years. It might be out of date now, than the rest of the UK, where we're struggling to get any growth at all. And okay, London's still way ahead, but this place from where it was to where it is now, it's grown a lot, especially when the rest of the country, on average, the growth has been really low and stagnant, and this place almost is might as well be in a different country. And this place, the unemployment's less, there's more new jobs being created there, there's better jobs being created there. I'll find the video I was watching and link it in the thing, because obviously this is a celebrated video, and I didn't bother to look up the statistics before. And as well, if you live in the UK, this is anecdotal evidence, and you get on a train and you go to this place, at least in my town, you step off the train, and on one sense it's exciting because you step off the train and this place is like miles ahead of your city. Like, you can tell within 5 minutes of getting off the train that it's much better. There's stuff happening, there's new cafes and stuff, there's new pubs, there's young people going out, there's a really good night out there, and it feels exciting. And the buses are really good there, and they've got a tram network, and there's loads of high-rise buildings that have only just been built. And so I went there because there's this Canadian band called the Beaches, and I went to see them, and they were playing in this place and not in my hometown. So I went there, and it was really good. But as soon as I got off the train, I could just tell that this place was moving forward. And that place in Manchester, like, statistically, if you look at the statistics, it's miles ahead of the rest of the UK. But as well, you can just tell when you get off the train, it almost feels sad, because you look in your own country, your own city, sorry, and it's like, oh, you know, I like my city, I was proud of my city, but now it feels like it's behind. And that place in Manchester, it's only been like that the last few years. And part of the reason is, maybe it's not the reason, maybe it's not the whole reason, but part of the reason for that is because of the mayor of Greater Manchester, who is Andy Burnham. And Andy Burnham is pretty heads on to be the next Prime Minister. And to be honest, having been to Manchester recently, I think he should do for Manchester what he's done for Manchester for the rest of the UK. So it's incredibly exciting that he's going to be the next PM, especially since, as well, related to this horrible social media ban, I hope when Andy Burnham comes in he gets rid of it, because for all the reasons I've said in my previous video, it's just terrible. And hopefully, new Prime Minister, they'll have the excuse of we've got a new Prime Minister, it's a new start. I used the wrong base for this guy. He's got a little base, I've lost the right size base for him. I don't know where it went. But yeah, it's a new start, so hopefully he'll have the political mandate almost to not go through with this social media ban that's going to come into effect in 2027. But it will be difficult, because all of the people who pushed for the ban in the first place. Now they'll be like, oh, I know it's a new Prime Minister and all that. I know, terrible Starmer's gone. And we've got Andy Burnham, who's doing such a great job in Manchester, and we need that for the rest of the country. But they'll be like, oh, you know, you promised you'd do this, you'd promised you'd introduce this terrible legislation. How can you go back on that? So that's my worry. But the positive from that is, as I said in the first video, they're going to ban VPNs next. And Liz Kendall, one of Starmer's apparatchiks, was already, I saw in the press, making noises about wanting to ban VPNs next, which would especially ruin the internet, because you won't be able to escape from it. At least now you can escape from this terrible legislation, and that'd stop you even being able to escape from it with a VPN. As well as you'd also have to not do any cheeky little piracy. So if a show you wanted to watch is on, I mean hypothetically, I personally would never do this. Show you want to watch is on ITV, on Apple, you've only got Prime TV and Netflix. Some people, not me, I'm not advocating for this, might be tempted to pirate it, illegally download it, and you'd need a VPN for that these days. And Liz Kendall wants to ban it, but she's one of Starmer's lieutenants, and hopefully, you'd hope, that'll be cancelled now, and maybe even this social media ban will be cancelled because it's not meant to come into 2027, and hopefully Burnham will come in. Hopefully it is Burnham, and not do that anymore, which is really good. Cheers. But as well as I said in the first video, it's a long list why I think Starmer is a wally, and he is a wally, and I'm glad he was going. So I thought I'd go through a few of those things, and on this channel I wanted to appear to a wide audience. So I've not said this before, and I've sort of glossed over it, maybe lied a little bit, because I said, oh, I don't agree with the Tabernacle. I do actually agree with him. I agree with him on everything, but I wanted to appeal to a wide audience, so I pretended that I wasn't a leftist like he is, because I used to be one of I was one of Corbyn's boys, you know. And I know a lot of you might disagree with that, but I was, and it was because at the time I was a bit younger than I was now, and some of the things he wanted to bring in Corbyn, I know no one liked him, but would have actually helped me, especially the university, National Education Service he was on about bringing in and stuff like that. And the £10 minimum wage at the time, which is more now. But no one liked him, and the way they got rid of him was bringing in Starmer, and is it Paul Holden? He's on Navarro Media all the time. He's done a book on it, on how this organisation called Labour Together came up with all these, oh, you won't be able to get away with it now because it's after October 7th. But you know how Israel's like, oh, anyone who objects to us doing all these massive war crimes all the time, like we're just going to call him an anti-Semite, and they just did that over and over again until people believed it, and they got rid of Corbyn. And they brought in Starmer, and he was, all the people who'd been doing the smears were all his advisors, this Morgan McSweeney character. And Paula Holden's done this excellent book on it, where they were funded by, you know, billionaires and stuff. And they came up with these pledges, and it was basically like, oh, we've created all this rubbish that's destroying us in the polls behind the scenes, and we're going to have someone who's not going to have those smears, but they're going to have the same policies as Corbyn, but these 10 pledges. And obviously it was, as soon as he got the leadership, it's like, well, we're not going to do any of that. And the press was just like, I know he's lied to win this leadership election, but he's lied to like the Corbynites and the Corbynistas, and who cares about them? So it doesn't matter that he's a liar. So those of us, you might disagree with me, who were Corbynites, saw this coming, because what it meant was when he did get into power, the entire run up to him being in power, all it was about was him getting rid of the Corbynites, purging all the lefts, banning everyone, calling them anti-Semites, and there's an excuse to ban them because he'd criticise Israel or whatever. And then when he was in power, his whole raison d'etre was to get rid of the left, and he didn't have any ideas. So they just carried on with what the previous administration had been doing. And by that point, people were sick of it, because they just voted to stop it, and they'd had 14 years of it, and they were sick of it, and he just had no new ideas, and he just carried on. As I say, like, they've done less cuts than the Tories did, but they've not undone any of the cuts. So all of those cuts are on top of all the cuts were done in those 14 years, which is why it seems so much worse when he's cutting the winter fuel payment, which was an early thing that people didn't trust him on, because it's like, well, we just had 14 years of cuts and stuff. And at first it was like, well, you know, the recession, the 2008 recession, but after 14 years of it, it was like, we need some positivity. And as well, like, Rachel Reeves came in, and first thing she did, amongst the first things she did, which was one of the worst things you can do, was she's just like, everything's shit, Britain is shit, I hate it, it's rubbish, we're not going to have any money to spend on it. And the problem with that, with an economy, is like, a lot of the economy is based on how confident people are. If people are being told by the Chancellor that, oh, everything's shit and we've got no money, they're not going to go out and spend any money. They're going to start cutting back. They're going to start, well, if the Chancellor's saying everything's rubbish, like, I don't want to spend my savings on a holiday or something. And so that harms growth, obviously, because then you're not spending that money. People at the holiday place are not getting paid, or in pubs or whatever, are not getting paid. And then this increase in employers' national insurance on top of that, terrible, because no real benefit. I know the taxpayer benefited a little bit, but all of that were taken out the economy, because it was costing small businesses that much that they had to cut back on staff hours. And me personally, I work for a small business. My staff hours were cut back because my boss was just like, I don't want to do it. I feel bad every time I do it, but we're paying this extra national insurance now, and it's either that or you lose your job through business going bust, you know. So there's that, and this is only a small thing, but the £2 bus, like, under the Tories, under Boris Johnson, they brought in this thing where any bus journey, no matter how long, only costs you £2. And pretty much straight away Labour got rid of that, and they worked it out. It was only costing the government a few £1 million, which is nothing for a government. And you know, obviously catching the bus is really good for the environment, because you're not getting the car. You're getting on a bus with loads of other people. You're using public transport. It's good for the environment, and they got rid of that. It's only a small thing, but it just felt like a kick in the teeth every time you got the bus. And there was this mealy-mouthed excuse of, well, you know, it's cheaper if they get one of these bus passes, having to get to work every day. But it did harm certain people. And this thing with the winter fuel payments, which was the first thing, which was egregious, because just had 14 years of cuts, and then they come in with this means testing, taking it off, and you're taking money off of pensioners who can't work anymore. And I think they reversed it. They're taking money, PIP, off of disabled people early on, and then they had to reverse it. And there was this whole thing of they nearly didn't reverse the two-child benefit cap. And the only reason they reversed it is because everyone booted off of it. So about the time they reversed it, it was like, well, you've only done it because everyone was upset, because it was clearly a terrible policy. And I think the crux of the matter is the way it's been so bad is that Cameron came in 2010 and did all these cuts, and his justification for it was, oh, you know, if you're got a household, you're spending more than your wages are. Obviously, that's not good. You're going to be in debt, and the government's like that, and it's in debt, and that's bad, and that's why we've got to do all these cuts. But it's a fallacy because the government is not. It's not a household. The government, right? The UK is a business, right? And in a business, you've got to spend money to make money, right? And because no one in the press fought against that, we had 14 years of cuts until the pandemic, when they had to spend money on the pandemic. And to be honest, that was good because they were spending loads of money and I benefited from it. Because like, it's a bit difficult with Boris Johnson because obviously he's a Tory. I'm not fond of the Tories, but at the same time, during the lockdown, he did pay me 80% of my wage to stay at home and play Final Fantasy all day. And you know, people like boomers complain about the lockdown. Oh, we shouldn't have done the lockdown. We should have just let people die. I fucking loved the lockdown. I thought that was great. I thought it was great because I was only on minimum wage. I was on 0 hour contract, whatever else, and then suddenly I know how much money I've got coming in. I'm able to save up because there's nothing to spend my money on. it was actually quite good for me. Starmer wouldn't do anything like that, that's all I'm saying. But there was this fallacy of, oh, it's a household budget, we've got to live within our means, we can't spend more than we make. When you can, because not only does it function like a business, and I mean that in the sense that as long as you spend it well, obviously if you own a business and you're just shitting money up on the wall and stuff that doesn't make a profit, if you're running a government and you spend money on stuff that's going to bring in a return, same with the business, you can, sometimes it's good to make money. And we did this in history, like it goes back to FDR in America, because after the Great Depression, FDR in America, Hoover fucked it all up because he tried the same thing. He tried this thing, oh, it's a household budget, we're just going to do loads of cuts. Made the economy even worse. Roosevelt was like, yes, we're going to get into debt, but we're going to pay people to like build the Hoover Dam and stuff like that. That's still there. And all those people who would have been with no jobs, and they had a job, and that meant you could spend money in the shops and stuff, and that helped the Americans get out of the Great Depression. But it only really helped after World War II, until World War II, because in World War II it's like, money's no object, we've got to spend as much as possible, and that's what ended the Great Depression. And not only is the UK a business, it's a business where you can literally print your own money. So yeah, the whole thing with austerity is wrong, and that should have ended really, or at least been toned down when Starmer came in after like 14 years of it. 14 years of it, from a brief respite in the pandemic. But he came up with his Chancellor came up with these fiscal rules, and then it was like, oh, we can't spend any money because of these fiscal rules. And it's done a lot of damage, because the government is still spending a lot of money. Like, there's still a big deficit, and they're going about it all the time. And the reason there's still a big deficit after all these cuts is because if they'd invested money in the right places, that would have brought a return. And because they've cut everything, they've effectively destroyed that money. That money that, like, if it's been spent wisely, investing in like industry and stuff, and investing in jobs, and getting people off the dole, not by like punishing them and doing cuts and things, but by creating jobs and helping people into work. And because they've spent money on like cutting things, it's that essentially that money's been destroyed because it's gone out the economy. And they carried that on with these fiscal rules when people were like sick to the death of it. And they've done even more cuts on top of the too many cuts that were done before, and it's just led to like, you can see it, the economy's crap. Like, I'm sure they're massaging the unemployment figures, because it's always like, oh, there's so many million people who are economically inactive, which somehow doesn't count as unemployed, when they're just doing that to massage the terrible figures. I mean, was there only a few, because we had the hot economy like after the pandemic, when everyone wanted to go out and do stuff after they've been cooped up for 2 years. I remember it, we had a hot economy, and okay, it was Liz Truss's fault, because she came in when we had this hot economy after the pandemic, she fucked it all up. But yeah, like, we shouldn't be, we could have not been in this situation where we're like slaves to like the bond market now, and oh, if we spend this, the bond markets won't like it, you know. We need someone who's not coming in and like, we're going to do everything the same, except the new things we're going to do are all going to be rubbish. Like, new things we're going to do is going to be like cutting money for pensioners, cutting money PIP for disabled people. Apart from that, not. And that's the thing as well. I remember at the same time they were cutting the winter fuel payments. So at the same time, there's this massive corruption scandal where some donor were paying thousands of pounds for bloody Starmer's glasses and his suits and his cabinet suits, and it's just, well, it's obviously a bribe, innit? You don't need, you're getting paid the Prime Minister's wage, you don't need this money, and it's obviously been given to you for something in return. You know, we're not stupid. And as well, there's, I mean, you might disagree with me, I'm very against Israel, and the reason I'm against them is because they're breaking international law, and shouldn't be one international law for them and one international law for everyone else. Should be one international law for everyone, and they're breaking it all the time. And not only that, the trying to drag us into this bloody Iran thing that's totally for them. It's against America's interests, it's against our interests, and they're trying to drag us into that. But you've got Starmer, like, you've got him giving them weapons when he's saying he's not, which is probably costing us taxpayer money that I'd rather be spent on the NHS. I'd much rather that money be spent on the NHS than blowing up 10-year-olds in Palestine, you know what I mean? But not only that, he's cracking down on freedom of speech, because this Palestine action thing, like, even if you disagree with me on the Israel thing, it's illegal now to say I support Palestine action. It's illegal to say that, and obviously making it illegal to say something, that's by definition against freedom of speech. It's against freedom of speech, and even if you don't agree with you're not bothered about the Israel-Palestine thing, although I would urge you, like, Israel really bad what they're doing. It's against freedom of speech, and them doing that sets a precedent that them or another government in the future can just ban you from saying a phrase, and it's and the reason the excuse for them being prescribed was them damaging RAF planes and stuff, but that's criminal damage. That's criminal damage. Yes, it's a crime. Yes, they broke the law. Yes, they broke the law by breaking into these weapons plants and stuff, and that's against the law, and there's no bones about that. But it's not terrorism, right? If you commit a crime, it's not fair and it's not good for us to then charge you with a different crime. And at the end of the day, them breaking them RAF planes, even though it costs the taxpayer $1 million or whatever it cost, right? At the end of the day, that's criminal damage. It's not terrorism. And just cause Starmer can vote through in Parliament saying that it's terrorism doesn't necessarily make it so. You know what I mean? So that sets a really, really bad precedent, especially with a reform government on the horizon. So there's that. I mean, even if you disagree with me on the Israel-Palestine thing, it's against freedom of speech, blatantly. That's disgusting. The idea of them banning you from saying certain phrases is ridiculous, and arresting pensioners for holding up signs it's absurd. It makes us look like a joke. And that's the thing, it's not just that he's done bad things, because I'm sure with the 14 years of the Tories, you could point to a lot more bad things they could have done. But the main problem is there's been nothing good, or there's been very few good things. Because with Blair, with Brown, at the time, they were seen as very right-wing Labour leaders, very right-wing for the Labour Party. And I am aware that nowadays Blair is like this ghoul who like pops up every so often to say something absolutely ridiculous that he's obviously been paid to say by some oligarch, right? But I'm not on about that. I'm on about the legislation that he introduced when he was in government, right? Not his personal beliefs, right? But with Blair, with Brown, a lot more, if you went up to someone in the street, a lot more, someone who knew nothing about politics, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, you asked them what has Blair and Brown done that's good, they would be able to come up with a list. They would be able to come up with a list of stuff. And if you went up to someone now, you won't be able to come up with a list of anything good that they've done. So I hope it's a lot better, and yeah, I'm looking forward to him being Prime Minister. I'm having a celebration today to celebrate a known reprobate, the winner of the most unpopular Prime Minister, that since we've started doing polling for 2 years in a row. Absolutely useless. I could go on about him all day. And you know what? I will, because I'm having a drink. I hate him. I absolutely hate him. And I'm not going to have much more chances, because he's finally leaving. Like, the worst thing about him leaving, like, have you ever seen Full Metal Jacket, right? Brilliant film. You should watch it. There's this scene in Full Metal Jacket, and the soldiers are like, oh, when we leave, we're gonna miss having not anyone around worth shooting. It's like that. When he leaves, I'm gonna miss having not anyone around worth hating as much as I hate him. So this is like my last chance to have a go at him, and I'm gonna use it. Like, as well, like him leaving in June pisses me off, because I had money on him. I had money on him leaving in May, because I thought he'd leave after diabolical election results in May. I knew they'd be diabolical. I had money on it, and it was accumulate as well, and all the other things in my accumulator hit, and all he had to do was leave by the end of May, and I would have won money, right? I would have won money if he'd left in May and he had to wait until June. But as well, the same with Peter Mandelson, right? It's ridiculous, and people defend it. People are like, oh, it's not that bad. It is that bad, right? Peter Mandelson was, in 2009, in 2010, during the last day of the government, he was giving state secrets to Epstein. It's that bad. It's so bad. Because the thing is, they're like, he's been fired. There's loads of scandals. There's always been loads of scandals around him. He's been sacked out of government twice. But not only that, there's like, it was in the paper before he was appointed that it was up to his neck in this Epstein stuff, right? It was in the paper before that he knew Epstein. There was photos of him with Epstein after Epstein had been convicted, and still Starmer appointed him ambassador. And the worst thing is, like, Starmer in the Parliament trying to excuse it, was like, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't told. And it's like he thinks we're stupid, and it's like the press think we're stupid for saying that, because it's not like Starmer appointed him. Mandelson appointed Starmer because Starmer's main lackey, Starmer's advisor, like if you've ever seen the thick of it, there's a character called Malcolm Tucker, and this guy is Starmer's Malcolm Tucker, right? Morgan McSweeney is Starmer's Malcolm Tucker, and they get a new Labour leader in the thick of it, and one of the politicians say it's like a puppet with Malcolm Tucker's hand up his, I can't say it on YouTube, right? And that is what Starmer was with Morgan McSweeney. But the thing with Morgan McSweeney, the guy who trained him, the guy who hired him, he started off in the Labour Party working on the reception. The guy who promoted him to a proper job in the Labour Party was Mandelson. Mandelson was, he trained Morgan McSweeney. Morgan McSweeney was a protege. So it's not that, oh, Starmer's accidentally appointed Mandelson US ambassador by mistake, because essentially Starmer's boss, Morgan McSweeney, his boss is Mandelson, basically. So it's obviously the case that Mandelson's helped them out, got Starmer to be Prime Minister, and that's his reward for doing that, because he's their boss, they're not his boss. So the idea, the insulting idea that, oh no, I wasn't told that he was up to his neck in this horrible Epstein shit, it's just like they're taking us for fools. And obviously that's enough to resign. The idea that you can I know in these times it's normal, but back in the day, the idea that you could appoint the friend of a paedophile who gave that paedophile state secrets to the US ambassador, the idea that on its own is a resigning matter, is disgusting.